A lot of folks in the metro area seem to think the only way you can find a place this peaceful is to get out of town, maybe head for the mountains or the coast. Well, on this show, we're going to give you some other options that may be a bit closer to home. If you're stressed, and who isn't, it's nice to dream about going to faraway places with views like this. Peaceful, soft, a dream-like movie scene. Well, surprise, this spot is just minutes off Interstate 285, one of the most heavily traveled roads in Georgia. We are in Cochrane Shoals, one of 16 land units that make up the Chattahoochee River National Recreation Area. Chattahoochee was the first river to be named a national water trail. It covers 48 miles of river and 10,000 acres of land, broken up into parks like Cochrane Shoals. Our recreation area is one of 413 national parks across the nation, but not in the traditional sense.
We are very different. We're an unusual park in that we're 48 miles of the Chattahoochee River, which of course is America's first national water trail. And along that 48 miles, there are 16 different land areas like this one that have hiking trails, picnic areas, boat ramps, and absolutely enchanted areas. What people also don't realize is this stretch of the river, this extension of the Southern Appalachians, is part of what the Cherokee Indians call the Enchanted Land. And we have the honor and privilege of being the stewards of the last remaining enclaves of that enchanted land. And people only have to come out here to find that there is indeed enchantment.
Jerry Hightower has been a ranger for 40 years. We met at the Island Ford unit and walked the trail to a spot known in days past as Proposal Rock. Before the metro area stretched north, this was far from the city and a good place for young couples to hide away. Today, it is a respite for those who just need a little quiet. Surprisingly, children fall into that category. I can't imagine little kids being stressed, but you deal with children all the time.
And they are. They're, you know, it's school, it's home life, it's everything that's put upon them.
Devices.
They don't live a carefree life. And so coming out here, experiencing the river, even on a field trip, when it's schoolwork, it makes a huge difference to them.
Get it. We need to see it. Okay. It's a let me look at it. Let me look at it.
And what all this research has shown us, that when you put a child in a natural setting, within 5 minutes, their brain chemistry changes. And they start to relax, and they start to learn more, and their brains just change. And it only takes 5 minutes in nature for that to begin to happen. This morning, you are all scientists. On the creek there, we are looking for little bitty wiggly squiggly animals.
Jerry works with hundreds of kids a year. He teaches the children of parents he taught in the past.
All right, now, you see anything wiggling and squiggling in there? No. Look for tiny little bitties. How many legs? Six legs, so that means it's a what? No, these are dragonflies and damselflies.
That one's carrying another fly.
He brings them on field trips out here, or goes to their classrooms where he uses a bit of humor to get their attention. Like this rap song about scat. Oh, sing me the scat song. Come on.
All right. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, well. Now remember, a good song has to start out with a good well, because well without a good well, then the song just doesn't work that well. So well, you understand the importance of the well. Well starts with an S and it ends with a T. It comes out of you and it comes out of me. Now I know what you're thinking, but don't call it that. Be scientific and call it scat. Be scientific and call it scat. Be scientific and call it scat. Yeah.
What kid would ignore that? And once he has their attention, Jerry gets into the real science. Showing kids how to connect with nature is Jerry's passion.
If the trees are taking carbon dioxide out of our atmosphere, what do the trees give us? Oxygen to breathe. What a deal.
When you look at the magnitude of what is at stake, Jerry believes his mission is critical. The next generations have to understand the importance of these waters.
All right, when you were standing at the sink brushing your teeth and you reached over and you went, patooey, and you spit in the sink and it swirled around and disappeared, or you leaned over and you flushed the toilet, after we clean it up, where does that water go?
It goes back into a river.
It goes right back into the Chattahoochee River. Now, while you were brushing your teeth this morning, you were using the water that students from Lumpkin County Elementary School upstream from us flushed down the toilet last week. Now,
This is Atlanta's lifeline. It is the city's water supply. It is critical for not only drinking water, but agriculture as well. This is the smallest watershed in all of North America, serving a population base our size. Put another way, the Chattahoochee provides drinking water for over 1/3 of the population of Georgia.
So here is the foundations of the cabin that is the namesake of Cabin Creek.
Park volunteer Bob Ruby and I hiked through the East Palisades unit, arguably one of the prettiest parks on the river. The walk to an overlook reveals just how close we are to civilization.
Oh, wow, this is beautiful.
So as I said, you don't see downtown Atlanta, but you do see the Cumberland district over there.
Yeah.
And this is a part of the river that's known as the Devil's Race Course. It's, I think, a Class 1 rapid, and which is fairly low level and fairly easy. Most of the river's real easy. Right now you can see the water is very low. They're apparently not letting much out up at Buford Dam. So this is an area with a lot of kayaking and canoeing and trout fishing.
This is beautiful.
And what you're seeing on the other side of the river is West Palisades, which is another unit of the Chattahoochee National Recreation Area that's inside the perimeter. And in the distance over there, moving a little slowly, you can barely see I-285.
The wooden platform provides a great view, but when you hike down to water level, you can see why early boatmen called these shoals the Devil's Staircase, because they were a devil to get past. These rocks, known as Palisades, are about 400 million years old. Geology aside, many consider this section the most impressive on the Chattahoochee. Interesting when you consider its beauty was almost squandered. In the early 1970s, there were plans to run sewer lines along the river. Imagine climbing out on the rocks with a sewer pipe as your view.
This is a pretty cool spot.
It is. If I were If I were paddling down the river, I'd be going right through that course, fast-moving
Is there room for
course out
both of
there.
us on this rock?
We could probably sit there. There's lots of room.
Like Huckleberry Finn.
Bob is like many folks who know the secrets of the Chattahoochee. He is a fisherman, and trout is king here.
So if trout live here, it's pretty clean, right?
The water is very clean, except right after heavy storms, there's runoff, and then it cleans up quickly. In fact, I had a discussion one time with one of the state fisheries biologists, and she said within a few days after the river clears up, the trout have cleaned out their systems and are perfectly safe to eat.
Interesting.
But-
So it's safe to put my feet in.
Oh, yes, yes.
Woo! It is cold. I just had to do that. That's why you buy these shoes, right?
That's right. I didn't. If you'd warned me, I would have worn my chacas, and we could have had a.
We could have had a splash party.
Yes.
Oh, this is wonderful. It is cold water, though.
On any given day, you will see fishermen below the dam. All of them hoping to catch a fish that comes with bragging rights. To help their success rate, the Department of Natural Resources stocks fish in the river throughout the year. On a cold spring day, we were at West Palisades Park watching fish fly into the water.
As long as they're going from water to water,
Yeah.
no rocks or limbs in between, then they're going to be just fine.
Pat Markey raises both rainbow and brown trout at the Buford Fishery.
So how big will they get? Like,
Well, we have grown them for about a year and a half at the hatchery. They're about 10.5 inches long, the rainbow trout.
Wow.
As you'll see, the brown trout are much bigger. But there's no telling. This far down in the river, there's a lot more tributaries, a lot more food items, and these fish have the opportunity to get quite a bit bigger. There are some rather large brown trout down in this section. This is a nice deep pool. This is great habitat at this time of the year for these trout.
if you get a big brown trout,
You want to look at that?
yeah.
Okay. There's a big brown trout, or a bigger brown trout.
Gloves come in handy. Oh,
yeah.
he's pretty.
So they don't have that iridescence, but they have large black freckly type spots. It's kind of an olive green, silver color, very beautiful fish.
It is beautiful.
And they do very well down here. I'm at Buford Hatchery, and I'm responsible for growing this fish from 4-inch fingerlings to 16-inch brown trout, and that takes about a year and a half or so. But that's what we do. That's my job.
That's one reason Trout Unlimited ranks the Chattahoochee below Buford Dam among America's top 100 trout streams. It's John Lee Thompson's job to make sure it stays that way.
You guys put in an extraordinary amount of trout in the river.
Right. Typically, our goal is 1 million trout per year. That's probably 80% rainbows, maybe even more than that, 90% rainbows, 10% brown trout. This reach of river here gets about 50,000. It's very beautiful.
This is beautiful, and we're minutes from
The Braves Stadium.
The Chattahoochee is one of 3 trout rivers in the world that runs through a metro region of 1 million+ people. So is the river clean enough to eat the fish you can catch? Biologist Pat Snellings says absolutely.
It's not just the trout fishery either. We have a striped bass fishery that they start moving up from West Point Dam for the better cool water that we have coming out of Lake Lanier. We have also the Chattahoochee River is home to the shoal bass, which is a Georgia state fish. It's endemic to the Chattahoochee River. It's a phenomenal resource, and it's really just, like I said before, it's a gem in Atlanta to have this kind of fishery and this quality of a fishery right here in the city.
And even in lousy weather, both local and out-of-state anglers make good use of it.
Nice, Wes.
Milk it, Wes. Let it flop around a little bit. Way to go, buddy. Keep tight on him.
Going for the double.
There you go. Way to go, brother. Awesome, man. Awesome. It's a 37-mile stretch of water, all natural reproduction, brown trout. See if he'll swim out. There he goes.
A National Park Service report shows that 2.7 million visitors showed up at the Chattahoochee Recreation Area in 2016. The money they spent supported close to 2,000 jobs in nearby communities. Sally Bethay is with the Chattahoochee Parks Conservancy and hopes the organization can help the park rangers maintain and upgrade the riverbanks and individual parks.
That from downtown Atlanta, in 20 minutes, you can be out here with a fly rod and fishing for trout. It's completely amazing. You know, this park is a secret, but in so many ways, it's our other backyard in Atlanta, and we need to figure out ways to take care of it and to make sure that the millions of people who love it and come to it every year don't love it to death.
It's a difficult park to wrap your head around. There are miles of river and more than a dozen land units, each with a slightly different feel, all with scenic access to the Chattahoochee. There is no main entrance to this national park, no grand visitors center, just these wonderful green spaces that stretch through several counties and past numerous cities. The hike at Jones Bridge Park is in the city of Johns Creek, but one of the main attractions won't be there for long. Jones Bridge was built around 1904, but once it was no longer safe for travel, half the bridge was dismantled. No one is sure who or why, but the theory is that some locals pulled it down to sell the scrap metal, and recently the remaining portion collapsed. Back at Palisades with Bob Ruby, we enter a forest that is not like anything you would expect.
This is unbelievable. Bob, this really is a bamboo forest.
I told you, it was like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. They were doing sword fights up on the top of the bamboo.
Look at this. It's like some fairy tale.
It's one of the interesting things to see in the park. You know, it's not native, it's invasive. And they talked about coming out and cutting this stuff. And the natural resources people said, well, we're afraid that you'll cut it and you'll get little shreds of it will get into the river and go down and plant themselves somewhere else. So we'd rather just contain it here.
It sounds like metal. I bet this thing is so strong.
Yep.
And just look at all of it. And it doesn't, is it spreading much?
Not a lot. I haven't seen it visibly grow. I imagine it is, but I've never done measurements, and I haven't observed a dramatic growth.
It's like steel. Well, this is the biggest bamboo I've ever been around.
It's about 60 feet high.
60 feet, wow.
That's what I'm guessing.
I'm glad they didn't chop it down.
Volunteers like Bob keep this national park in shape. It's no secret that there simply isn't enough money to hire the staff necessary to clear fallen trees, make trails, or enforce laws. David Thomas is the ranger who coordinates the volunteer efforts, like these Boy Scouts creating this new trail.
It's more involved than what you think, because we have corporate groups that come and want to do things at the park. Today we have a Boy Scout group, so we do about 110 to 130 events like this every single year. The thing is that the more you get into it, it is a science, okay? So people are all, but what we're dealing with in this park is 1978, it became a part of the National Park Service, but what we're dealing with is exactly like what we're sitting on today. It's old farm roads that are going all over the place, and they're going, hey, look, we already have a trail system, voila. And at that point, we didn't have the amount of visitation going on. So this now, Chattahoochee is in the top 25 for visitation in the entire country, and we're thrown in with people like Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, Yosemite, all the big parks that you normally think about. Chattahoochee's right there with 3.5 million people coming every single year, hammering these trails, and these old road beds cannot handle what's going on.
There are 80 miles of trails that must be maintained. Cochrane Shoals is one of the most popular, a wide path along the river, usually packed with joggers and dog walkers. Soap Creek has a little bit of everything, including bike trails that attract skilled cyclists who come on a regular basis. Many of these guys ride every day. But the focal point of this unit is a 12-mile stream that's a tributary of the Chattahoochee. There are boulders dotting the creek, chairs provided by nature to bask in the sun on a hot summer day. Soap Creek has ruins of a paper mill that operated during the Civil War. This mill was vital for Southerners trying to get the news out, which is why Sherman's troops burned it down. The remaining stone walls are history you can walk through.
I think this park has something for everybody. I mean, there are historic sites, there are Native American sites here, there are fish weirs actually in the middle of the river. So the park has something for everybody.
What is a fish weir?
A fish weir is the Native Americans would put rocks across in a V shape across the river, and sometimes they would put reeds as well, and so it would direct the fish and kind of hold them in the middle of the river, and easier to capture. And they are thousands of years old, and we've got them right here in this river.
Thickery Creek Trail connects with the park and leads to the old Allen Brook home. From there, trails lead to a cliff with great views of the river. A rather slippery path to the base is well worn by climbers. This rock formation is often used by folks who like a little challenge. When the weather is nice, chances are good you will see someone climbing this cliff.
I got you. Coming from Metro Atlanta, you can go up 400 for, I believe it's about 6 miles or so. And that makes it really accessible for people who just want to come up in an evening or after they already have some other commitment in the day. Because typically on a climbing trip, it's an all-day affair because of the distance you have to drive to get somewhere coming from Atlanta. But for this, it's not, which is what makes this place kind of neat. And, you know, it's a great location. You're overlooking the river. It's, you know, peaceful, scenic. It's just a fun place to come and climb.
What you're looking at, and this is what I like about this park, is that I tell everybody this is the smallest park I've ever worked at. So I've worked out in the Tetons, I've worked out at Carlsbad Caverns, and now I've worked here. Tetons, 56,000 acres. This, 7,000 acres. And it's the smallest park I've ever worked at, but it's also the largest park I've ever worked at because it's right in the middle of whatever. It's multiple cities, Atlanta obviously, but then there's Marietta, Alpharetta, Johns Creek going all the way up north. The neat thing is you're right in the middle of the city. Your rush hour traffic going, you pull off and all of a sudden you're in the woods, and you could be 1,000 miles away from Atlanta. And there's places all throughout, every single unit has them, but there's places where you can just go and sit and you'll hear a plane or something and possibly a little bit of traffic, but it's a way to be able to transport you away from the city. That's what I think is the coolest thing about it.
This national park is indeed a gem, with everything from climbing rocks to great trout fishing. But since it runs behind Atlanta instead of directly through the middle, it is easy to overlook. As such, it faces many challenges in the future: drought, pollution, and more homes that will inevitably be built as close to the river as legally possible. Awareness of Chattahoochee's enchantment may be its saving grace.
And so my job is not for the people today. You know, everything I've done for the last 40 years is for people that I will never meet, you know, people that will be born generations from now. And we have to lay the foundation, and we have to create the next generation of stewards, you know, before we pass on.
How do you plan for the future of a resource like this? A lot of people are working very hard, but Jerry's job may have the most impact, because if you don't reach the next generations, the best laid plans may go astray. I'm Sharon Collins. We'll see you next time.